farm, family, community. This is Midwest Farm Weekly.
Good morning and welcome to Midwest Farm Weekly. I'm Melaine Wells. On today's show, we will take you inside the Renard's cheese plant in Door County and tell you about a program that they have to train the next generation of cheesemakers. Then she is an enthusiastic food scientist, now in the finals to become the next Alice in Dairyland. We will introduce you to Allison Foster. Plus, are you leaving untapped potential in the barn? We'll take a look at how improved genetics could be boosting your milk check. We continue our series profiling Wisconsin cheese companies. Renard's Cheese is a fourth-generation family-owned cheese-making business in Door County. I suited up in a white coat for a factory tour led by master cheesemaker Chris Renard.
When I went into the master cheesemaker program, after making cheese for 20 years, I thought I knew a lot about making cheese. I realized how much I didn't know and how much more there was to learn.
Master cheesemaker Chris Renard continues to perfect his craft every day at his family business.
You can go on to get your master's in business or in the medical field. Why not do it in cheese?
The plant produces mozzarella, cheddar, Colby, Farmers, Munster, Brick, Marble, Monterey Jack, and more than 50 flavor-infused specialty cheeses.
From when the milk enters the vat until it's a cheese curd, you're looking at about 4 hours. Cheese is something you don't want to push time-wise. Higher quality cheese is going to take a little more time in the vats.
Each step carefully balances the unique properties a fresh load of milk brings to their plant.
What you were seeing is the cheddaring process. So what they're doing is they're stacking that cheese, it's expelling moisture and whey out, and it's knitting all those small little curds into one curd. Those slabs will run through the curd mill, and then that's when you get the fresh squeaky cheese curds that you can get at our store. That's the first product out of it.
Chris takes pride in mentoring people in the industry.
We will train them, get them licensed. We have a wonderful staff right now. So our cheesemaker program takes about 2 years of training, and then we will get you licensed and then help you make high quality cheese as part of our team.
Team is the key word when it comes to culture at Renard's. We've
won many awards over the years, and we always celebrate our awards as a team. So when we enter a contest, it doesn't go as that cheesemaker who entered it. We enter everything as a team because we do realize that everybody working together, as it comes from our farms, to our milk haulers, to our cheesemakers, to our staff that's selling in our stores, office staff, our cut and wrap team, we all have to work together, and that's the only way we're going to grow as a company.
Chris says they are lucky to work with local family farms.
We wouldn't be able to make the high quality cheese we make if it wouldn't be for the quality of the milk we get from our farms. It's been a partnership for years with our farms. So we've been working with many of these farms for over 20 years. So the quality of the milk comes in, it's phenomenal. I don't care how good of a cheesemaker you are, if you don't have high quality milk, you can't make high quality cheese. So they're the backbone to keep us going.
A vision moved forward by 4 generations of Renards.
Our family business, we started in 1961. The business was founded by my grandfather and grandmother, Howard and Angela Renard. My dad and mom joined, Gary and Bonnie, in 1966. I came back to the business in 1995. My wife joined the business, and Ann and I now own and operate all of Renard's Cheese. And we're proud to say that our 4th generation, our daughter came back to the business 2 years ago. So we're real proud to say that the family tradition will continue on.
The creation of a new retail space and bistro helped connect even more people with fresh cheese.
So we put in the sampling table. That works wonderful. It gives us a lot of feedback on any of the new cheeses we're trying. But then also the bistro allows us to showcase our cheeses and different ways to use them. And then the playground. That gives mom and dad a chance to sit back, let the kids play, especially when you're coming up into Door County and making that drive, and they can do their shopping, get a bite to eat, make it an experience, not just a quick stop in.
To start and end their visit to Door County with a taste of the Renard's family recipes.
It's awesome to see the hard work you put into it and the smile on people's faces when they try it. So there is a lot of passion and pride that goes into what we do.
Stores across the United States and as far away as Dubai sell Renard's cheese. Plans are in motion to expand their current cheese factory in Algoma. Still to come on Midwest Farm Weekly, preparing now to manage weeds. Do your fields have herbicide carryover? We're going to explain how it could impact your crops. Welcome back. There are now 6 top candidates applying to become the next Alice in Dairyland, and they are in the midst of one very intensive job interview. One of these young women is Allison Foster. We say good morning and welcome to you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Congratulations. How exciting.
Thank you.
Well, talk a bit about your journey toward becoming, hopefully, Alice. When did your passion for agriculture start?
So I did not grow up on a farm. I actually have lived in the city my whole life, but agriculture has been a part of my life from a very young age. I was handed the halter of a Jersey calf at about 5 years old, and I never looked back. My parents thought that was going to be a one-time thing, I'm pretty sure, but I was persistent, and they knew I was going to be involved for a very long time. So joined 4-H and FFA and showed cattle through those organizations, as well as gained leadership and public speaking skills as well. In middle school, I started a herd of my own with my brother Jarrett, and we are now able to pass on that kindness that was passed on to us by allowing other 4-H kids to show dairy cattle that might not have had the opportunity to do so.
That's incredible. So talk a bit about then where the road has taken you, because you are now fully employed in the industry too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I pursued a degree in dairy science at the University of Wisconsin-Platteville, and always thought that I was going to be working on the cattle side of the industry, maybe in nutrition or genetics. And after graduation, found a job at a cheese plant. And so I started working on the floor making cheese every day, and I absolutely loved it. I was fascinated by the process and started asking a lot of questions, as that's kind of my thing, and eventually moved into a position in research and development. And that's where I'm at now. I'm a scientist working to develop new products to expand our brand portfolio, as well as continuous improvement projects to improve our cheeses and our processes.
Why does the position of Alice excite you?
The position of Alice excites me. It has for a really long time. When I was growing up, I have a lot of stories of being able to connect people to agriculture through the county fair. One specific instance was we would always bring this old cow with us. Her name was Minnie. She was my brother's first calf, so she was very docile, very gentle, and we specifically brought her to the fair to be able to have attention and people to pet her and learn about agriculture. Sure. So there was this little boy, and he wanted to pet a cow, and he fell instantly in love with Minnie. So we talked about the fact that there's 5,300 dairy farms in Wisconsin, and 99% of them are family owned, as well as what she ate and how much milk she produced. The special part about this is that he came back for years to come. He would come back every year, look for Minnie, and they would catch up on the year that they'd missed from each other.
Wonderful. Well, as we talk about your involvement not only in agriculture, but outside as well, you're very passionate about helping the community. That was something I noticed in your biography. Talk a bit about the project that you're involved in with servicemen and women.
So I started with an internship with Operation Not Alone, which is a nonprofit based right here in Wisconsin, and started with communications, kind of writing our blog, doing a lot of our social media work, and then really just had a heart for having a more active role in helping our active service members. So I took over the role of packing care packages. So I currently, in my free time, spend time packing care packages and sending them all over the world for service members.
Have you figured out how to send cheese? That's the next step as the food scientist,
not
right?
Quite yet. Yeah, I'm still working on it.
Well, Allison, it was so good to meet you, and we look forward to meeting all of the candidates. We will introduce you to all of the finalists as they work their way towards the finals being held in Crawford County for the very first time, May 15th through the 17th. Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Storm Team 5 meteorologist Alexis Staniak. Still some light snowpack on the ground, mostly areas Green Bay and further north, as we did have that system come through from the middle of last week. As temperatures have rose, though, throughout this past work week, we did see plenty of melting go on, at least for the southern half of the Badger State. So far, since the start of the winter season, we have accumulated now over 40 inches of snowfall for northeast Wisconsin, just over 2 feet into the Twin Cities, still holding on to the single digits for central South Dakota, but closer to 2 feet. The further north you go into central North Dakota, most of the Midwest is in that range of between 1 foot and 2 feet accumulated. For liquid precipitation for the entire year so far, so from January 1st until now, we have finally gotten up to about 4 inches for northeast Wisconsin, about 5 to 5.5 inches down into Chicago. Higher totals the further south and east you go, as they have seen multiple systems come through that have completely missed the Badger State throughout this past winter. Now, since March 1st, we are actually above average average for where we should be for precipitation, so that's the good news. Less of a drought for Green Bay. Still, the further south and west you go into the country, there is more of an extreme drought. Some numbers are below average for the southern half of the Midwest. Good news, though, is that most of the country is looking to see above normal numbers for precipitation as we head through the next 1 to 2 weeks. So finishing up the month of March and heading through the start of April, likely we will see more active weather on the way in, which checks out because here's our NOAA precipitation outlook from April to June. At least most of the eastern half of the country will see above normal numbers, western half more below. Now, temperatures over the next couple of weeks are going to stay a little bit above average for at least the northern half of the Midwest and into the Great Plains. Further south and east you are of Green Bay, so closer into Florida, Georgia, those areas will likely see very warm temperatures, as our outlook for the next couple of months from April through June shows most of the country, with the exception of eastern Montana, North Dakota, and most of Minnesota, are likely to see above normal trends for temperatures as we head towards the end of spring and into the start of summer. More mixed showers on the way in to finish up this weekend. We do have some early snow to start off Monday, quiet again by Tuesday, and then another messy system on the way in by the middle of next week. Stay with us. More ag news coming up after the break.
Well, Jeremy Hansen here from Fox Valley Technical College for Life on the Farm. And today I'm actually at the Shawano County Forage Council annual meeting, and joining me is Dan Smith. Dan, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you, Jeremy.
And welcome back to Life on the Farm, I should say, because we talked last summer when we were looking at some water hemp and some soybeans, correct?
We did. That was a great summer field day. It's a little colder, a little more snow today.
Right. Well, and that's a good time of year for us to be talking about this. Your presentation today was on weed management. And you had a few terms that you used. I think it's really important that we just remember what they are. And one of them was herbicide carryover. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. And herbicide carryover is something we should be really mindful of this time of year in particular as we're planning what we're planting next. So we've sprayed our weeds last season. Maybe it was a 2-pass program. If we used any herbicides with a residual component providing longer term weed control, that product has the potential to stick around a little bit longer than what we want. If it sticks around a little bit longer than we want and damages the next crop or a cover crop we have out there, that's herbicide carryover. Herbicide carryover is injury from a previous herbicide application that was not intended to occur on that crop. There's a little bit of label guidance that we can use. We can use the rotational restrictions. That's a legal requirement, so always read, follow, and understand your herbicide and all pesticide labels that we're applying. That gives us our guidance, and then oftentimes that guidance is 18 months to 2 years for some of our really good corn herbicides to plant alfalfa after. So that's why we're talking about it today, is in a corn silage alfalfa rotation, we could be making some choices today with our agronomists that may prohibit planting alfalfa in 2 years.
Dan, and you also talked about a pre-harvest interval. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, pre-harvest interval is another legal requirement as well. For silage corn, there's different pre-harvest intervals than grain corn. We're harvesting silage corn obviously a little bit earlier too, which makes this even more challenging. Pre-harvest interval is that requirement to wait after we apply the herbicide until we harvest that next crop. That may be a little bit of time. For most of our products, it's something that we don't have to worry about. It's a labeled product for silage corn. It has that consideration that we're going to chop it, say mid-September through mid-October, we're going to be okay. But there are a few corn products that do have a longer pre-harvest interval, so if we come in, do a cleanup pass in, say, late July, we have to be really mindful of that.
Right. And so those two concepts, you followed your presentation with, planting into cover crops, or actually establishing a cover crop into an existing crop. So if we plant green, we're planting corn into a winter rye cover crop, what's some of the strategies we got to use?
Yeah, so we've got to get rid of that cover crop eventually. Eventually that, say, winter rye or triticale is going to really compete with our corn. Even if we chop it for silage, or rylage rather, we're going to have a little bit of that cover crop come back, cause us issues later on. So we need to have a plan to terminate that cover crop. But it's a holistic system. We really want to be thinking about that entire program today. When the snow's still on the ground, the winter rye is asleep under that snow. Snow melts, it's time to burn that herbicide, that rye down, or harvest it. We need to have that plan in place so we can be successful.
And Dan, you followed up then, if we were to establish a cover crop in a growing crop, what's the strategy with that? Because I'm sure you don't want a residual herbicide in that to kill that cover crop right away.
So interseeding is so popular. There's a lot of interest in interseeding a cover crop into that silage cornfield. Then we have that nice stand of cover crop after we chop off our corn. We have to be really mindful of our herbicides though, because our herbicide carryover is a huge issue. We have about 30 days in some cases between applying a herbicide and planting that cover crop. Again, we can refer to our herbicide label for more guidance, but also there's some university research showing some products that we can and can't use in that system if it's just solely a cover crop to protect that corn crop from weeds, but also that cover crop from injury, or even taking out the entire stand in some cases. A lot of our residual herbicides are going to be around for 30 to 50 days in our really strong corn programs. That's not going to allow for a good interseeding stand to be established. We need to be thinking about that.
Right, plan ahead. That's absolutely correct, and this is a great time to be doing that.
Right.
Dan, you know, I always enjoy talking with you. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate listening to you and talking with you now.
Yeah, thank you, Jeremy.
So for Life on the Farm, I'm Jeremy Hansen.
Components could be key when it comes to boosting your milk check, but is there room to grow? Corey Geiger, the lead economist for dairy with CoBank's Knowledge Exchange Division, joins us. And Corey, you say yes.
Absolutely, and it's going to be driven by genetics, Mylene.
Okay, it's nice to see you. That's the topic of a new report that you are releasing. Talk us through this topic a little bit.
So dairy farmers have been using AI, artificial sires, artificial insemination for a number of years, but the game changer happened in 2009 was genomics. So it's the study of DNA comparing to production records and health records, and now we can predict what a baby calf will do with over 70% accuracy as a cow. So that's really the game changer here.
You sent me a couple of graphs. I want to take a look at the first one, which is kind of the overall trend and the role that genetics have really played when it comes to our annual milk production per cow.
This is a graph that the Council on Dairy Cattle Breeding developed, and it's really looking at what has made dairy farmers and dairy cows more efficient over time. The green bar there is management, and then the blue section there is genetics, and you can see that blue area is getting larger and larger. It's contributing more. Management would be feeding and cow care and housing and all those things, but genetics, really understanding how genes recombine with each other. And in particular here, we're looking at milk, but equally important is butter, fat, and protein.
When we talk about components, that's the next image we're going to take a peek at. For our farmers who maybe are not raising dairy animals, or for our consumers who are joining us, talk a bit about components and why they're important.
So the majority of dairy products these days, people are eating. Think cheese and butter and yogurt, and especially with the weight loss drugs, whey proteins, the most complete amino acids known in humanity. So in this chart here, every 5 years we do a reset in genetic evaluation. So this April we're going to have a genetic base change, and the Holstein breed is going to be reset by 45 pounds. It's a whopper for butter fat and 30 for protein. That's the amount of gain we've made in 5 years. And you could see over time here since the turn of the century in 2000, the biggest jump ever. And the Holstein breed in the United States is more than 4 out of 5 dairy cows.
And the importance when it comes to what farmers are making, there are milk companies, cheese companies that pay based on components.
Yeah. 90% of U.S. dairy farmers get paid on multiple component pricing. The two biggest components, over 90% of the milk check, are butter, fat, and protein. And I say that they're kind of like NASCAR. Some years butter fat's the leading NASCAR, and sometimes protein is the leading NASCAR, but they're both very important.
So if a farmer is just starting down this journey, or maybe they've just scratched the surface, where do they go? How long is it before we start to see results in our specific breeding and in our genetics?
The remarkable thing about butter, fat, and protein, it's highly heritable. That means that you can make change really quick. So you breed a cow, and then she has a baby calf 9 months later, and in 2 years she has her calf and enters the milking string. So it's about a 3-year change if you start updating your breeding program, but it's a lasting impact because you can do this multiple generations if you keep your cows and keep their heifer calves.
Fascinating research coming out. As producers continue to evaluate their herd, is this going to change some of those management decisions? Are they going to be looking at the effects of the feed on the animals and able to make some of those additional changes in the barn?
Yes, it's all synergy, and it works together and it builds upon each other. So certainly there's, you want to work with your nutrition advisor as well, because that's an equally important component, because you got to feed the cows and care for them to get the best out of these genetics.
Sure, it's not just one thing, right? We're not going to have superior genetics and inferior feed and expect the same results. Corey, any last thoughts?
No, I have an extensive report on our website at cobank.com, part of our knowledge exchange division. So for those who want to dive deeper into this, I'd encourage them to go to the CoBank and download that, Melaine.
Well, as always, a fascinating research topic and something that you can be discussing in the barn and around the dinner table. Corey, we appreciate your knowledge on this segment and so many more. We're going to link you up on our website. Head to the Midwest Farm section of wearegreenbay.com. Click your way to Corey's report and certainly so many others. We hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend and thank you for spending part of it with us.